They showed up at my husband's funeral wearing white and laughing. His mother spit in my face at the cemetery. 2 days later, she stood in my bedroom while her sons packed my clothes into trash bags. "You were never his real wife," she hissed. Then she found my safety deposit box key. Listen, you need to subscribe right now because what I'm about to tell you will make your blood boil. But stick with me until the end because the revenge is so sweet. Hit that notification bell because you do not want to miss the moment the judge's face changed everything. Now, let me take you back to where this nightmare really started. I met Gerald at a real estate conference in Tampa. He was different from other men I'd dated. Focused, ambitious, but gentle. We talked until 3 o'clock in the morning about building an empire together, about creating generational wealth, about dreams that felt bigger than both of us. 6 months later, we were married at a courthouse with just 2 witnesses. Looking back, I should have questioned why his family wasn't there. But Gerald explained it simply. "My family is complicated, baby. Let's just start our life." I believed him because I loved him. We built something beautiful together. 3 properties across Florida, a penthouse in Miami Beach, a lake house in Orlando, and a rental property in Tampa. We'd spend weekends renovating, interviewing tenants, planning our future. Gerald always said, "Everything I have is ours. You're my partner." I didn't know then how much those words would matter. But his family, they were ghosts in our marriage. 2 years together, and I'd barely met them. His mother, Beverly, was ice cold the few times we crossed paths. At our only Thanksgiving together, his brother, Carlton, cornered me in the kitchen and said, "You know he had a life before you, right?" His younger brother Preston filmed me on his phone for no reason. His sister Rochelle asked invasive questions about our bank accounts. And his uncle Frank joked about checking if our marriage license was real. I felt watched, judged, hated. Gerald would just pull me close and whisper, "They are just protective. Ignore them." The warning I missed. At Christmas dinner, Beverly looked at Gerald and asked, "Have you updated your paperwork?" He went silent. She smiled. I didn't understand then, but I should have. Strange things started happening. Cars parked outside our Miami home for hours. Mail went missing. Someone called the IRS claiming we were committing fraud. The investigation found nothing, but it rattled us. Beverly left voicemails on Gerald's phone. Gold diggers always get what's coming. We found out later they'd hired a private investigator to follow me. When I finally confronted Gerald, he admitted the truth. They tried this with my father's second wife, too. It's about money. It's always about money with them. 2 weeks before he died, Gerald held my face in his hands and said, "If anything happens to me, trust no one in my family." I laughed it off. We were young, healthy, building our future. What could happen? Everything. Gerald collapsed during his morning jog on a Tuesday. I performed CPR on our driveway, screaming into the phone with 911. The ambulance came, the hospital tried, but by noon, the doctor looked at me with sympathetic eyes and said, "I'm sorry. We did everything we could." My husband was gone at 44. My world shattered completely. I called Beverly to tell her. She hung up on me. I called back 3 times before she answered, her voice cold. "Where are you? Which hospital?" Not how is he, not what happened, just logistics. I should have known then. The funeral was hell. I tried planning it alone, but when I arrived at the funeral home, they told me everything had already been arranged. Beverly had used her mother's rights to take over. They'd changed the flowers, the music, even the casket. And here's the thing that broke me. Beverly, her daughters Rochelle and Aunt Diane all wore white. In our culture, that's disrespect at a funeral. They were laughing in corners while I stood there drowning in grief. During the eulogy, Beverly spoke for 20 minutes about Gerald's childhood, his accomplishments, his future he never got to have. She never mentioned me once. Not once. His brother Carlton's eulogy was worse. Subtle suggestions that I'd stressed Gerald out and changed him. I sat there numb, being erased from my own husband's life story. At the cemetery, I tried to lay a rose on his casket. Beverly physically pushed me back. "Family only up front," she snapped. I stood 15 feet away from my husband's grave alone while his family surrounded him. After the burial, I approached Beverly to try one last time to find peace. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You killed him with your poverty mindset in ghetto ways." Then she spit in my face. Actually spit on me. Carlton and Preston blocked anyone from helping me, while Uncle Frank filmed my humiliation on his phone. Rochelle laughed and said, "Guess you'll be moving back to the hood now." I drove home alone, mascara running, heartbroken and terrified. 2 days later, I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning to sounds downstairs. I crept down to find Beverly, Carlton, Preston, and Rochelle in my house. They had keys somehow. Gerald's old keys from before we married. Beverly was sitting at my kitchen table drinking my coffee with a lawyer named Stuart beside her. "We're here to discuss the transition," she said casually, like she was discussing the weather. I heard footsteps upstairs. Carlton and Preston were in our bedroom going through our things. Michelle was in Gerald's office rifling through files. I screamed, "Get out of my house." Beverly didn't even flinch. "Pack, what's yours?" "You have until Monday," she said. Stuart slid papers across my table. "Actually, these properties belong to the family trust. You were merely a beneficiary during marriage. Marriage ended at death." I stood there in my pajamas, watching them dismantle my life. Carlton came downstairs carrying my clothes in trash bags. Trash bags. Preston was taking photos of everything. "Inventory of family property," he said with a smirk. Rochelle started removing my pictures from the walls, erasing the mistake, she muttered. Beverly went through my jewelry box, holding up pieces. "This was Gerald's grandmother's," she lied. Then she found it. My safety deposit box key in my nightstand drawer. She held it up, smiling. "I'll be taking this, too." Stuart handed me an eviction notice. 48 hours to vacate all 3 properties. After they left, I discovered they'd already changed the locks on the Miami penthouse in Tampa rental. I was locked out of 2 homes I owned. The bank called. Someone had tried to access our joint accounts using a forged death certificate. The tenants called. Beverly told them I was no longer the landlord. That night, Beverly sent me a text. "Monday at 5:01 p.m. Anything left becomes garbage, just like you." I sat alone in the Orlando house, the only one I could still access, and cried until I couldn't breathe. They'd taken my husband, humiliated me at his funeral, and now they were stealing everything we'd built. I felt defeated, small, erased. Then, at 2 o'clock in the morning, unable to sleep, I went into Gerald's office. There was a locked drawer in his file cabinet. I broke it open. Inside was everything. Property deeds showing all 3 homes in both our names. Joint tenants with right of survivorship. Our will updated 18 months ago, leaving everything to me. And then I found a folder labeled Family Protection. Inside was documentation showing the family trust Beverly claimed owned. Everything had been dissolved in 2009, 6 years before I even met Gerald. He'd legally separated all his assets from family claims before we married. There were letters from his attorney warning Beverly to stop harassing us. A restraining order Gerald had almost filed against Carlton. And at the bottom, an envelope with my name on it. "To my wife, open only if my family causes problems." I opened it with shaking hands. Gerald's handwriting filled 2 pages. "If you're reading this, they've already started. I'm so sorry. My mother tried to steal my father's business from his second wife. She lost in court, but never forgave being cut off from his money. I've protected everything legally. You are the sole owner. Don't let them bully you. Fight back. You're stronger than all of them. Mr. Harrison has all the documents. Trust him completely. I love you. You were the best decision I ever made." My tears fell on his words. My grief transformed into rage. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I called Mr. Harrison, Gerald's attorney. Saturday morning, I sat in his office while he reviewed every document. His face got redder with each page. "This is fraud," he finally said. Beverly's lawyer, Stewart, represented the family when the trust was dissolved in 2009. "He knows it doesn't exist. This is intentional fraud." Then he showed me something I didn't know existed. A video Gerald had recorded and filed with the court. In it, Gerald explicitly stated his mother's history and his fears. Gerald knew this would happen. Mr. Harrison said, "We're prepared. We filed emergency motions, restraining orders, police reports for breaking and entering. We changed the locks on all 3 properties with a sheriff present. I sent Beverly my own eviction notice." Her furious voicemails became evidence. I transformed from grieving widow to warrior. The day we walked into that courthouse, Beverly had brought 12 family members as intimidation. Carlton cracked his knuckles, staring at me. Uncle Frank said, "You're going to wish you'd left quietly." Beverly had called local news cameras. They were there filming her performance as the grieving mother fighting a gold digger. She wore an expensive black suit, fake tears ready. I wore a simple black dress, no cameras, just truth. Judge Patricia Anderson entered. A black woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and no nonsense in her expression. Beverly's face showed shock. She'd clearly expected someone else. The judge's first words. "I've reviewed the filings. This will be interesting." Stewart started with his performance, painting me as a manipulative outsider who'd isolated Gerald from his loving family. They brought witnesses. A cousin who'd met Gerald twice claimed I was controlling. Michelle cried crocodile tears about losing access to her brother. Carlton testified that I'd turned him against us. Then Beverly took the stand. It was Oscar-worthy. She sobbed about her baby boy, showed pictures of child Gerald, claimed he'd promised she'd always be taken care of. She described me as someone who showed up and took everything using family money from his grandmother. The courtroom murmured in agreement. Stewart presented thick binders of trust documents from 1985, charts showing family investments. He argued I had no legal claim as just a wife. I felt my stomach drop. Were we losing? Mr. Harrison passed me a note. "Wait for it." When our turn came, Mr. Harrison stood calmly and said, "Your Honor, may I present Exhibit A, the trust dissolution of 2009. Beverly's face went white. He presented the complete legal dissolution signed by Beverly herself. She'd agreed to dissolve it and took a payout of $250,000. Judge Anderson's eyebrow raised. "The trust Mrs. Beverly speaks of hasn't existed for 16 years, Mr. Harrison said. He presented our property deeds, marriage certificate, the prenuptial agreement I'd suggested to protect both of us. Gerald's updated will. Then he said, 'Your Honor, I'd like to play Gerald's video.'" "Will." Beverly objected. Overruled. On the screen, Gerald appeared. Healthy, clear-eyed, speaking directly to camera. "I'm making this because I know my mother will try something. She tried to steal my father's assets after he died. My wife is the only person I trust with everything I've built. Mother, if you're watching this in court, you lost again. Every property, every account, every asset goes to my wife. She earned it by loving me, not using me. Baby, don't let them bully you. You won." The courtroom went completely silent. Beverly's tears were real now from rage and humiliation. Carlton and Preston wouldn't look up. Rochelle actually stood to leave, but the judge ordered her to sit. Judge Anderson removed her glasses. Mr. Stewart approached the bench. Now, she questioned him about his knowledge of the dissolved trust. Court records showed he'd represented the family in 2009. He knew the truth. "This isn't incompetence. This is fraud," she said, calling for the Bar Association representative. She turned to Beverly. "You signed the dissolution. You were paid $250,000. Beverly stammered that she didn't understand. The judge replied, You understood enough to deposit the check. Judge Anderson systematically destroyed every claim. She exposed Carlton's assault record, Preston's bankruptcy, and read aloud Rel's social media post from the funeral. 1 down, 1 gold digger to go. Rel tried to hide. The judge asked, "This is how you mourn your brother?" Then came the verdict. I've seen many cases of family greed. This is among the worst. Mrs. Beverly, you didn't just lose a case. You lost your son before he died. Gerald legally protected his wife because he knew exactly who you were. She ruled all 3 properties as my sole ownership, ordered Beverly to pay $47,000 in my legal fees, issued a $500 feet restraining order, made criminal referrals for breaking and entering, and referred Stewart for disbarment. Her final words. Mr. Gerald chose wisely. His wife showed more grace than his family deserved. Beverly had a complete breakdown. Carlton was escorted out by bailiffs. Preston tried to approach me. Security blocked him. The news cameras Beverly invited captured her loss. I walked out with my head high. 1 week later, I saw Beverly at a required document signing. In the hallway, she approached me. "You know, he never really loved you like family," she said, her last attempt to wound me. I looked at her and said, "Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't spit. Family doesn't destroy. Gerald loved me enough to protect me from you. That says everything. Never contact me again. You're not welcome in my life or memory." I walked away truly free. I kept the Orlando Lake House, our favorite place, full of our best memories. I sold the Miami penthouse. Too much darkness there now. I expanded the Tampa rental property like Gerald dreamed, and I created the Gerald Foundation, a scholarship fund for young Black entrepreneurs, starting with $100,000 from the Miami sale. Gerald's dream of lifting others up continues. They thought I was just some woman who got lucky. They thought I'd crumble under their cruelty. They thought wrong. Gerald didn't just leave me property. He left me power. The power of preparation, legal protection, and knowing my worth. His mother spent years hating me, but Gerald spent years protecting me. In the end, love won over greed. If this story fired you up, smash that like button right now. Subscribe and hit that bell because I share real stories of women who refuse to be broken. Drop a comment. Have you ever had to fight family in court? Have in-laws tried to destroy you? Share your story below. This is a safe space. And listen, protect yourself legally always. Marriage certificates aren't enough. Joint ownership, wills, documentation. Don't wait until it's too late. Share this video with any woman who needs to hear it. Remember, they can take your peace temporarily, but they can't take what's legally yours. Stay protected, stay strong, and I'll see you in the next one. Never let anyone make you feel small in what's yours.